All right, it's 6 o'clock. We're almost there. We're gonna wait one more minute and see if we can get a couple more people in. We've been steadily climbing over the last 2 minutes here. All right, let's get rolling. If people roll in, that's fine. So hello and welcome. My name is Lee Raby and I'm an elementary band teacher here in Iowa City. I teach at Horn and Weber and Hills. And we're glad to have you here. I've got some colleagues here with me. I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Sarah Ram and I teach band at Borlaug and Wickham Elementaries.
Hey everyone, I'm April Donlin. I teach band at Coralville Central and Kirkwood Elementaries.
And then we've got a couple of our junior high folks here with us, just helping to support us. It's nice that we work as a team and have them all around. So we've got, I'll let them introduce themselves.
Hey, I'm Josh Carlo and I'm one of the directors at Northwest.
Warmest greetings, everyone. My name is Kevin Brown. I am the other director at Northwest. We just want to say how delighted we are to be here for this first step of your band journey. And in 2 years, we are so excited to get to work with you ourselves. Band is a wonderful, wonderful experience, and we're so happy to be here. Congratulations on starting band.
All right, so to begin our presentation, we know there are probably a lot of questions, especially if this is your first child participating in band. So feel free to utilize the Q&A feature of this webinar to ask any questions, and we will try and either answer them as they come, or if there's a lot of the same question, we'll definitely take time at the end to answer any of those.
All right, so our timeline for joining band begins with getting your registration to join band into us by this Friday, September 25th. That registration can be found on our website, and it can also be found on our Seesaw. Your teachers must have posted it in your Seesaw classrooms as well. And then after you get registered and you picked your instrument, you will need to obtain your instrument and then other accessories, which we will talk about in the next slide about how to get an instrument. And then once you have your instrument, you will have an introductory lesson on Seesaw that you can work through to learn how to put your instrument together, how to make a good sound on your instrument, and then how to care and clean your instrument. And finally, our lessons begin on Friday, October 2nd. They will either be in school or via Zoom. If you are in the online academy, they will be through Zoom. And then if you're hybrid, they will either be in person or through Zoom as well.
One step that we're kind of missing this year, normally we would go through and demonstrate all of our instruments for the kids and actually have them try every single instrument. But because of COVID, that's just simply not possible this year. So what we're going to take a leap of faith, and what we're doing is we have several videos of ourselves playing every single instrument on our website. I encourage you to go through and listen to those and have your kid just kind of pick them out and just listen and find an instrument that they think, I just like the sound of that. I just like, that just looks like a cool instrument. What am I really drawn to? Because, you know, when we go through and try kids out on instruments, what ultimately wins out is just what they want to play. We want your kid to play what they want to play. And it usually works out. So the first thing we need to do is, once you've decided on an instrument and you've found something that your kid is just really interested in and wants to do, then we have to get an instrument. So the best place to start with that is to go to West Music. And they have lots of different options. So you can go there And you can, first of all, if you would like to try playing an instrument before you really get one, West Music will allow you to try some instruments while you're there. Something that we can't do this year, but if you want to try some out, and go to West Music and they'll do that for you. They've got instruments that you can rent monthly. They've got instruments that you can rent to own. They've got instruments that you can buy. They have lots of different brands. If they take an instrument out and they put it on the desk and say, this is what you get, it's okay to say, you know what else do you have? Because they do have lots of different brands, and they have new and used. And so ask lots of questions. Don't just accept the first thing that they pull out and hand to you. Generally, we want to go with what's called a student line instrument, or something that's kind of at the beginning. So what that means is, when it comes to instruments, there's several different levels. You have the student, you have what's called intermediate, and then you have professional or advanced. All right, most of our kids are going to do pretty well with a student line instrument right out of the gate. And so if anything you get from West Music is going to be a good instrument to get. Now, it is possible to find instruments on the secondary market via, maybe you just have one, maybe your family has one, and that's okay. You can use those. What I would encourage you to do is to maybe take it in to West Music and have them look it over and clean it out and make sure it's in good working order before we try to use it. Because there's nothing more frustrating than having an instrument that doesn't work right out of the gate. It really makes a huge difference if they just are struggling with their instrument right away. And then it is possible to find instruments via eBay and Craigslist and things like that, but you have to be really, really careful, because there's some stuff out there. It is possible to find advertised instruments like a flute that says brand new for $100, and it comes with white gloves. And I'm going to say, stay as far away from that as you possibly can, because they're going to be nothing but a source of frustration for you. If you have questions about specific brands, we'd be more than happy to answer those for you. If you have questions about a specific listing that you've seen online, email it to us and we'll take a look at it and see if it's something that we want to go with. Generally, I find that it's much better to go with a used instrument that is a reputable brand and pay just a slightly bit more than those really cheap brand new instruments that are not going to work out for you for very long. Sometimes those brand new, really cheap instruments will only last a couple months. They're not designed to last very long. So here again, if you have questions, we're here to help. West Music is a great place to start though. That's probably where I would start. But you know, if you're looking for some other deals, we can help you out with that. Did I answer everything?
All right, so the next question I think a lot of people probably have is, what will band even look like this year and also in future years, since this is definitely an atypical year. So some of the items on this list are a little bit open-ended. We'll try and explain them as best as we can. We do know students are going to have weekly lessons. For those who are in the online learning program, those are going to be fully online. And then for students who are in the hybrid model, they could either be online or in person, kind of depending on the family's preference and also what works best with the classroom schedule. But each student will get a weekly lesson for 15 to 20 minutes. And then the next element is guided practice modules in Seesaw. So this is something that's new this year. We have spent hours and hours uploading videos and lessons to Seesaw for your students this year, so that they can kind of take us with them when they, want to practice and they need some help at home. So it's almost like having their own, band lesson whenever they want, because it's the same stuff that we would tell them in lessons, and it just gives them a chance to sort of practice in a much more guided way. And then along with that, there's of course independent practice at home, and that sort of goes with the Seesaw module. So I mean, your student can use that as much or as little as they want to. They're free, to practice without Seesaw, and of course they're free to use it too. We definitely recommend for beginners, smaller, more frequent practice sessions. So 10 to 15 minutes a few times a week is definitely better than 40 minutes to an hour once a week, just because that playtime more often is going to get them in a good habit. And then the next element, of course, is playing in a group, which is a huge part of being in band. So at this point, we know that's going to be mostly in an online setting, just for safety. And then whether, our concerts this year, whether those are virtual small groups or, combining videos of the students so that it, makes them feel like they're playing together. It could look like that. Maybe, a few months down the road, if things are looking different, we could start to have some small group performances. So that's going to be a big thing. We'll definitely guarantee your student will have an opportunity to perform, whether that, we don't know what that will quite look like, a few months from now, but we definitely know there will be opportunities. So again, that's a very big part of band, whether it's the full group or just a small group of students.
So bouncing off what has been already talked about, we're going to delve into a little bit of the health and safety measures. I know that's a huge thing that we're all worried about this year. So first thing that we've already kind of touched on is we won't be doing that instrument testing or tryouts, but you can do this at West Music. But we do have that seesaw activity up where students can watch different videos and learn what instruments sound like and pick out which ones they want to play maybe. And then in the hybrid model, students will receive instrument-specific PPE for use in lessons. So that includes specialized masks that allow us to be able to play our instruments while still having a mask. And then also bell covers, just trying to prevent that spread of those particles into the air while we're playing our instruments. Band lessons will align with all district health and safety guidelines. So we are really closely watching and paying attention to what the district is telling us to make sure that all of our students and all of our staff is really safe. So we want to make sure that everyone has a good year learning how to play their instrument while staying safe. And again, no large group rehearsals or concerts, at least for this first half of the year. Depending on what happens in the spring, we will let you know. But for now, just no large group rehearsals or concerts.
Before we head on, I'm going to circle back to getting an instrument. I neglected to say anything about school-owned instruments. So if you if you're looking for a tuba or a baritone or euphonium or a French horn or an oboe or bassoon, those are all instruments that we are going to, that are just more expensive. And it's really impractical to have you go out and rent or buy those. French horns start at $3,000, so whereas clarinets are a little bit more affordable. So if you're playing those instruments, let us know, and we will help you out with those. We have instruments that you can rent through the school. If going out and renting an instrument or buying an instrument is just simply out of your, it's just going to be very financially difficult for you to do that, let us know. We do have some flutes and clarinets and trumpets and trombones that are school owned that we can give out to those parents who qualify. If you have filled out, looks like right there on the page, if you filled out a fee waiver form, we can help you get those instruments in your hands.
All right, so the page that we were just looking at is actually part of what I'm about to show you, which is our website, which I'm sure many have already seen. I posted the link in the chat, so hopefully that showed up to all attendees. If I didn't do that, someone please let me know. So on our homepage, we kind of have your links that will probably come in handy most, the registration one especially. The one I really wanted to bring up is our frequently asked questions, because we do get a lot of same questions every year. So we tried this year to come up with a page that will kind of address those. So feel free after this meeting, if some of these questions maybe you needed a little bit more clarification on, feel free to kind of peruse this website a little bit and check. But we do have a lot of our frequently asked questions there. So definitely feel free to check on those. And then another page that may come in handy is the Contact Us page. If you scroll down to the middle, that is your three West Side elementary teachers. So Ms. Donlin, Mr. Raby, and then myself. And all of our emails and links to teacher webpage, all of that stuff is there. And then the next page that is definitely useful, especially if your child is having difficulty deciding on an instrument, is the instrument choices page. So we've recorded videos of ourselves kind of demonstrating each instrument, not only the way it sounds, but also, you know, maybe like certain qualities that you would look for in that instrument if it's something that interests you, just kind of help deciding what to play. So those are all there. And then of course, what Mr. Raby was just talking about with obtaining the instrument. So where to rent or buy, either West Music or elsewhere or from the school. And then another very important part is the required supplies. So each instrument kind of has certain accessories that goes with that instrument, and those are all listed here. And West Music too, if you purchase or rent from them, they know kind of which supplies your child will need, and they can help you too. So that's all there. And then of course, the registration link. So depending on if your child is new to band this year, completely never taken any lessons before, that would be beginning band registration. If your child has had lessons maybe for a year or more on an instrument, then definitely consider registering for advanced band instead of beginning band. So again, that's our website, and the link to that is in the chat, but it's also right here, a shorter link, tinyurl.com/joinbandic. So I think now we will go ahead and take some time to answer questions that are in the Q&A.
I saw one already that I'll just jump in right away. They were asking about what are the supplies. As Mrs. Brigham just showed you, there is a list of things on our website that you need to look at. Generally, you're going to need an instrument. You're going to need a folding music stand or a music stand of some kind. That music stand is, it says right there, all students must have. Yeah. So you're going to need an instrument. That folding music stand, we will only use at home for home practice. We will not use it here at school because we have them here to use. But it's helpful. It's necessary to have a music stand at home for a kid to use. And all of our students will start off with a book called, our lesson book called Standard of Excellence Book 1. It's got a bright red cover. And I, of course, don't have one right in front of me. Hold on. It looks like this. And West Music has a bunch of them. And they are instrument specific. You have to get one that is specific for your instruments. And percussionists also need, percussionists need this book. And in addition to this, they need a second book. And it depends on what school you go to know which book you need. So if you go, so some students will need, some of the percussionists will need this book, some other ones will need a different one, but just make sure you know what school you're going to, and there's a list there that says which school you go to and what book you need to get if you're a percussionist. And then there's some instrument specific things. Clarinets need reeds, trumpets and horns and trombones and euphoniums need valve oil. We have to change the oil in our instruments, much like you have to change the oil in your car. It's the same kind of mechanism. It's metal pistons working around. Saxophones need reeds and stuff like that. So if you have any specific questions about this, we're more than happy to help you out. But I think we spelled it out fairly well here. Someone else asked if we're about the after school. Normally, in a normal non-COVID year, we would have lessons here at school once a week. And in addition to that, we would have rehearsals after school where we pool together several elementaries together and have a band. Obviously, having groups and large numbers is not a good idea. So we're not going to be doing those after school band rehearsals this year, unfortunately. So nor will we be doing any concerts. But like Mrs. Berry mentioned, we're going to try to do some alternative performances with small groups. How many hours does a student need to practice a week? At least 500. No, it ultimately comes down to the kid. It really does. I mean, I tell my kids it's to go through each exercise 5 times a week. And you know what that means for one kid may be different for another. But that generally, when we're first starting, 10 minutes is going to be all they can take before their lips fall off. because they're going to be really tired. But once we get into things, 15 minutes, 3-4 times a week is a great thing to shoot for. There are those kids where I'm really happy that we're just practicing once a week, and if that's all I can get. So I'll take what I can get. I know we're busy, but ideally we want short bursts a couple times a week. They're probably not ready for hours yet. Anybody else want to take a crack at some questions? I've had, and to keep going with that, sorry if I'm beating this, but I've had some kids that are just naturally great practicing. Practicing is not something that we know naturally how to do. We have to learn how to do it. I've had some kids that just really figured out how to do it quickly, and they can just practice very efficiently, and they just naturally figure that out. I've had other kids that just, that they think playing through it once and is practicing, but what we're practicing really is learning how to do something. So that means we have to do some repetition. We have to be able to identify what we don't know how to do, admit I can't play this measure. I have to work on this measure right here. And that's a hard thing to do. I have problems with that. So it's a learning thing. Some people are just more efficient at it than others. So giving you a time limit is not beneficial. What it just means is, what I say is 5 times a week, and I think that accomplishes our goal. All right, I'll stop talking about that topic.
A great question that was asked was, if the child is enrolled in virtual learning, will their teacher be from their regular school or assigned from any school? Your band teacher will be the home school that your student would normally attend if this were a normal year. So if your student normally attends Kirkwood, then you would have me for your band teacher, and so on like that. Yes, the information is right there on the page. So the next question is, are the instruments on the site the only choices? Those are the choices for band. So if your student or son is interested in playing the violin, that would be for the orchestra side, and their meeting, I believe, is on Wednesday.
And additionally, I know we do have some people wondering about oboe, bassoon, French horn, any of those. If it's one that your child is really interested in playing, they definitely can. We would ask that when you register, maybe just shoot the teacher an email in addition so that we can be prepared for that. But we're definitely willing to start beginners on those instruments. In fact, we'd love to.
And some of those instruments are instruments that some students transfer to after playing another one. So sometimes we have trumpet play. We start kids on trumpet and then move them to horn, just because it helps them to be a little more successful sometimes right out of the gate. And sometimes we take clarinet players and turn them into oboe players when we find out, what kind of a player they are and things like that. And so sometimes we have a person who really desperately wants to play tuba and just cannot get a really low sound right out of the gate. So what I might do is have them play euphonium for 2 months and let them develop those muscles and then move them to tuba. So things like that.
If I may, dearest elementary folk, I've seen a lot of questions about guitar that I thought I'd talk about since we have that in the junior high. Guitar is a wonderful skill, and we love so many students that are interested in the guitar, but since it is not one of the traditional concert band instruments, it is not something that students have the option to do right now. However, guitar is something that we have in jazz band, which is one option you can partake in junior high and high school. The neat part about having guitar knowledge at this point is that your child will already have some prior music knowledge they will be able to use to their benefit as they begin a more traditional concert band instrument, and you will find that they will excel much quicker on that instrument. So guitar, not until junior high, and even then I want to be clear, the guitar isn't necessarily offered as lessons in the school or part of the band program, but we do have guitar players in our jazz band program, which is a offshoot of the band program.
All right, we had another question. If your child is doing percussion, do they need to get a snare drum in addition to the bell kit? They are not required to get a snare drum. However, we ask that they get what's called a combination kit that includes a bell kit and then what's called a drum pad. So it's just like a smaller practice pad that's much quieter. And that's what we use for lessons. We provide snare drums when we get to full band rehearsals, either next year or in junior high. That's when they would play snare drum. If you would like to get a snare drum, you definitely can. Just know that we won't use that for lessons.
Well, snare drums are quite a bit more expensive than just the drum pad. So it's okay to just get the drum pad unless you really desperately want a snare drum. All right. How are we doing with questions? I'm sure there's some more questions out there that people are afraid to ask, and it's okay because I know that as a beginning band, it's a little scary. So just make sure that when we're looking for instruments, don't be afraid to ask questions, ask for different brands, ask for different styles. One thing I will always mention is clarinets should be black. They should not be pink or blue or green or red. You can find them in different colors, and generally those are not good instruments. Generally clarinets, if you're looking for a clarinet, there are two styles. There's wood, and then there's what we call a hard resin, which is kind of a plastic. As a beginner, you're going to want the resin. The wood can have some maintenance things, so they can, if they're not taken care of it, they're susceptible to temperature and humidity and changes, and they can crack if they're not taken care of. So it's good to go with a resin at this point, and then you can use those for marching band and get the nice, really super nice instrument when you're in high school. When it comes to flutes, you'll sometimes see flutes that have open holes. Those are for advanced players. We don't want those. We just want what we call a closed hole flute at the beginning.
I'll talk again because I like to hear my own voice, if that's okay with you guys. Sorry. I just want to say, I'm the old guy here in the group, if you will. So I've been around in the district for a long time. And I just want to assure parents that a fear we often see, particularly at this time with the current COVID-19 concerns, is, do I really have time for band? My child may be feeling strapped and things like that. And we want you to know that, first of all, your child's safety and well-being is paramount to us. And we want to make sure not to add to that, but quite the opposite, find that band can be a chance to enrich and help them find a way to use that copious amounts of free time that we now find we have on our hands when we can't leave the house so much. Band is a wonderful way to advance and to gain an understanding and appreciation of music. I need to remember all the thoughts I was going to say, sorry. And then in addition to that, we believe that, music is such a wonderful, wonderful thing, and we all feel very passionately, and it adds so much to a child's life and gives them such an appreciation. And we don't look to become masters of the instrument, but much more to appreciate and enjoy what they play. So we want to assure you, if you're concerned, I don't know if my child has the time for this in his or her schedule. We want to fit into that schedule. We hope just to enhance, not to add any additional stress. I hope that's okay to say, guys. I just know that is a common parental concern.
And especially when they get to junior high and high school, and you're trying to balance athletics and band, we work together. Band, when you get to 7th grade, band is all during the school day. And same thing with the high school. And I know the high school guys work with the kids that are have other things that they're trying to do and try to make it work. They make it. We work with other teachers to make it happen.
All right, well, we're doing pretty well on time. We had planned to finish at around 6:30. We will definitely hang around for a while. If there are additional questions, definitely feel free to ask and we'll try and get those answered for you. Again, our website is up here and we posted it in the chat. And then all of the contact information for each of us, depending on our schools that we teach at, that's all right here too. So always feel free to email us with any questions as well. Any other thoughts? Am I missing anything?
Make sure you tell your friends. Go out and tell everyone band is awesome because of, well, on my camera, the cool people above and below me, but our wonderful elementary staff is so good at teaching band to beginners. And they will enjoy working with these people so much. So tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your pets. We are so excited to have a new crop of band people. Oh, great question just popped in. Will this be available to view if they missed it? Somebody want to address that?
Yes, this is being recorded. And so once it takes a little while for it to be downloaded after it's done, but I will make sure that all of the homeroom teachers have it so that they can get it distributed for anyone who wasn't able to attend. So yes, this will be available to view whenever, probably starting tomorrow.
All right. We did have the one question about violin, and we should point out the differences between band and orchestra, I suppose. They're just a collection, they're two groups of instruments, right? Band has all the instruments you blow air into, right? Plus percussion. Orchestra has all the string instruments, violin, viola, cello, bass. And we have different teachers, and we meet separately. Students can play both a band instrument and an orchestra instrument. It's a lot of work, but it can be done. Or you can just do band or orchestra. So we have a different set of teachers that we have been. What you have in front of you are the band staff. And then we also have the orchestra staffs that are meeting on Wednesday, it looks like. So just to know that those are two different ensembles. All right. Well, unless you have a question, I think you're free to go. Am I right? Thanks for coming and thanks for listening. And we hope to hear from you and hope to see your kid. And I'm looking forward to this year. I will very much enjoy getting back to teaching once again after 6 months of not doing it. So I'm desperately wanting to teach again. Hopefully, and I know these guys are too. So we need some kids to teach.
Yes, thank you all for coming. I hope this was helpful. And again, it'll be able to be viewed tomorrow. And always feel free to contact us with any more questions. We're happy to help. Guess we can stick around for just a couple minutes, just in case.